every session of the writing salon. So if you're not comfortable being on camera, feel free to turn it off. My name is Angie Abreu, and I'm the Executive Director of the Dominican Writers Association. We have been hosting free writing workshops during the Sundays for the past 5 years. Actually, this month, oh my God, this week, actually, the writing salon turned 5.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So 5 years since the pandemic, we have been offering free writing workshops. So imagine every Sunday for the past 5 years, except for holidays. We've been consistent. We've done it. So thank you all for being here. These workshops are facilitated by different teachers, facilitators, hosts every Sunday. There's a different topic. It is meant for you to get your foot in the door, to explore your writing, to explore different genres, to get those juices flowing. If you feel like you have a writer's block, come into the salon. If you feel like you want to start creating new content, come to the salon. Last week we had a few writers who created some great content, and we've been posting it on our Substack. So you can see the type of work that comes out of the salon. Some people end up writing books out of stuff that they learn in the writing salon, which is what we're working on, because Alicia is going to teach her memoir writing workshop, and she's going to invite you to her 5 week. Is it 5 weeks, Alicia?
It's 4 and there's only 3 left.
4 weeks of her. Could people still sign up?
Yes.
Okay. She has her 4 week writing memoir workshop, and she usually does it longer than that. I'm surprised that it's 4 weeks because it's usually 9 weeks or something like that.
It's 6 and
Right?
9.
So I guess that she's back in the US from DR, she's gearing herself up, está entrando al pasito, and then she's gonna hit you with that 10-week writing workshop. So you could work on that memoir and with no excuses, okay? So Alicia is also a DWA board member. We love her. She's one of the facilitators at the DWA retreat for the past 3 years on memoir writing. Anything you want to know about memoir, she's your go-to. She has published her own books. I can't say more. If Alicia has other things to add of her amazing bio, please do. She also teaches at the Bronx Council of the Arts, is it? With the memoir writing workshop. You're doing that now?
I did a series
You
for
did
them.
a series? Yes.
Series for them, yeah.
Yeah, me voy a callar and I'm gonna let Alicia do her thing.
Thank you, Angie, for that beautiful intro, and welcome everyone. I would like to say I'm easing you into writing this morning. I am not. That is not my style. We came here to write, and so I am a writer. So I feel you, I see you. I am one of you. I am also called by my students lovingly the writing midwife. I am La Santera in the nets, which means I'm a priestess in several African traditional religions. I have published a memoir, a play, a documentary. I have a slew of things that I've done. But what I love doing is kind of holding space for writers at all levels. And so I'm really happy to be here with you all this morning. When Angie reached out to me, I don't know if it was the beginning of the year. Yeah, I think either the beginning of the year, or I'm not sure. I was walking through the airport going somewhere, and she's like, so are you gonna teach? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. And so she's like, send me a synopsis. And she wanted it like the same day. She wanted like the same day, the description. And I was playing with what I wanted to teach in memoir, because I have a signature workshop called Writing from the Womb, which many people in our circles have taken. I've been teaching that since like 2013. And I decided that I wanted to kind of switch it up and think about, what might be on our hearts these days. And so it came to me, this idea of the un-American dream, which is, of course, that play on the American dream, which I can't speak for all of us, but I know for my family, my parents coming to the US in the late 60s, 68, was in search of this idea. And so, blah, 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 blah. Lots of stuff, lots of feelings around that. Let's jump in. Angie, I sent you the agenda. If you could share that, because I was unable to add it to the chat,
You
to
sent
the,
me, you sent me readings.
no, I just sent it to you. I just sent it to you on your WhatsApp
Okay.
because I can't add it to the group chat box so they can download it.
Okay, hold on.
But welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. I'm happy to be here with you. So let's start by taking some deep breaths because we know if I'm teaching anything, it's never like on some light shit. And so let's do some 3 deep
You
breaths.
want me to share it now?
Yes, please. Let's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. On this last breath, I want you to think about I invite you to think about your intention for this like writing session, like what you came here to do, what you're ready to explore, what you're ready to release, what you're ready to call forth, whatever that means to you in terms of intention for a writing session. So inhale and hold that breath for a moment and then release it, deep breath out. Y'all ready? That's my daughter in the background. Overview. Welcome to the Un-American Dream, a personal narrative and memoir workshop. Today's session allows us to reclaim our stories, bearing witness to and honoring where we come from. In this 90-minute, and it's less than that, generative writing workshop, we're going to explore themes of identity, migration, displacement, and resilience. We are using excerpts from Edwidge Danticaat's Create Dangerously and The Other Side of the Water. We will engage in some writing prompts that challenge you to define home, voice, and belonging on your own terms. This section will guide you through structuring a personal narrative, writing with emotional depth and authenticity, exploring memory, truth, and storytelling as acts of resistance. And so, with that, the Un-American Dream, what does it mean to you? Sit with that for a moment. This idea of an Un-American Dream and what it means to you. Why I chose the Create Dangerously text and The Other Side of Water, 2 reasons. One, the Create Dangerously essay is really inspiring in terms of just that idea of, are you creating dangerously, right? It poses that question, like, what are you willing to risk to tell your story or to tell this story? For example, are you willing to die for it? I had a very dear friend ask me that back in 2010. His name is Rock Welk. He is an incredible artist, filmmaker, poet, writer, director, actor. He's all the things as most of us are. But he asked me one day when I was finishing my one-woman show, I Was Born. He said, Alicia, are you willing to die for your art? And I was like, damn, yes, I am. I'm willing to die for my art. I'm willing to die for my history. I'm willing to die for my stories. I'm willing to die, you know? And so that's a really big question. And more later, I'm teaching, you can't interrupt me. Nope. Oh, you can't interrupt me. When I'm on a break, I'll look. Play something else. Sorry, fam. Are you willing to die for your art? Are you willing to risk it all? And so we're going to look at a couple of excerpts from that essay this morning, as well as The Other Side of the Water, which is an excerpt from her memoir. So let's just start. Give me in the chat one word that describes your writing or the story you want to tell. Let's break the ice real quick. Let's release some things, just like throw some words in the chat. One word that describes your writing the story you want to tell. Heritage, secrets, oof. Heart, furious, cathartic, freedom, sanjuaneras, transformation. I would add coraje, atrevimiento, memory, love. I love that. I invite you to I invite you to steal these words, write them down because they serve as a jump off part space for you to use later. Themes that you may be considering. No, the question, it's just a one word response. One word to describe your writing or the story you want to tell, need to tell, are called to tell, were born to tell, need to tell. Beautiful. Let's begin. Let's begin. Angie, do you want to share? No, I'm going to share. Can I share?
Let me stop sharing,
Yeah,
so that you could do so.
yeah, because mine is highlighted.
Oh,
So family, let's jump in.
on to it better.
Rock with me.
Okay, guys, go ahead.
I see the word bipolar. I hear you. Um, this workshop should be just like a trigger warning because I understand that many of us are writing things that are the hard things. And so the work requires you to just show up. You know, I invite you to remember that this is your job. You are a writer. Not saying that you shouldn't feel, but you are for today, you're just writing it. Just writing it, getting it out, exposing it, showing up naked. You do not have to share. Don't feel like you have to share. This is not forced. This is truth writing. Yes. Um, let's go to create dangerously. I'm going to read to you. You have the essay, read the entire essay. I'm just going to read you some highlights. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. The essay starts off with, let me take you to it. I'll take you to a little bit of the intro. Chapter 1, Create Dangerously, the Immigrant Artist at Work. On November 12, 1964, in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, a huge crowd gathered to witness an execution. The president of Haiti at the time was the dictator Francois Papadoc Duvalier, who was 7 years into what would be a 15-year term. On the day of the execution, he decreed that government offices be closed so that hundreds of state employees could be in the crowd. Schools were shut down and principals ordered to bring their students. Hundreds of people from outside the Capitol were bussed in to watch. The two men to be executed were Marcel Numa and Louis Drouin. Marcel Numa was a tall, dark-skinned 21-year-old. He was from a family of coffee planters in a beautiful southern Haitian town called Hérimier, which is often dubbed the City of Poets. Numa had studied engineering at the Bronx Merchant Academy in New York and had worked for an American shipping company. Louis Drouin, nicknamed Milou, was a 31-year-old light-skinned man who was also from Jeremier. He had served in the U.S. Army at Fort Knox and then at Fort Dix in New Jersey, and had studied finance before working for French, Swiss, and American banks in New York. Marcel Numa and Louis Drouin had been childhood friends in Jeremier. I'm going to skip ahead. The men of Drouin Haiti spent 3 months fighting in the hills and mountains of southern Haiti, and eventually most of them died in battle. Marcel Numa was captured by members of Duvalier's army while he was shopping for food in an open market dressed as a peasant. Louis Drouin was wounded in battle and asked his friends to leave him behind in the woods. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead. So on November 12th, 2 pine poles are erected outside the National Cemetery. A captive audience is gathered. Radio, print, and television journalists are summoned. Newman and Drouin addressed in what, on old black and white film, seems to be the clothes in which they'd been captured. Khakis for Drouin and a modest white shirt and denim-looking pants for Numa. They are both marched from the edge of the crowd toward the poles. Their hands are tied behind their backs by 2 of Duvalier's private henchmen, Tonton Macoutes in dark glasses and civilian dress. The Tonton Macoutes then tie the ropes around the men's biceps to bind them to the poles and keep them upright. Numa, the taller and thinner of the 2, stands erect, in perfect profile, barely leaning against the square piece of wood behind him. Drouin, who wears brow-lined eyeglasses, looks down into the film camera that is taping his final moments. I'm going to skip ahead. Some time elapses, it seems, as the school children and others mill around. The soldiers shift their guns from one hand to the other. Some audience members shield their faces from the sun by raising their hands to their foreheads. Some sit idly on a low stone wall. A young white priest in a long robe walks out of the crowd with a prayer book in his hands. It seems that he is the person everyone has been waiting for. The priest says a few words to Drouin, who slides his body upward in a defiant pose. Drouin motions with his head toward his friends. The priest spends a little more time with Numa, who bobs his head as the priest speaks. If this is Numa's extreme unction, it is an abridged version. The priest then returns to Drouin and is joined there by a stout Macoute in plain clothes and by 2 uniformed policemen who lean in to listen to what the priest is saying to Drouin. It is possible that they are all offering Drouin some type of eye or face cover that he's refusing. Drouin shakes his head as if to say, let's get it over with. No blinders or hoods are placed on either man. I'm going to skip. Off screen, someone probably shouts fire, and they do. The next day, Le Matin, the country's national newspaper, described the stunned-looking crowd as feverish, communicating in a mutual patriotic exaltation to curse adventurism and brigandage. The government pamphlet circulating in Port-au-Prince last week left little to the imagination. Reported the November 27th, 1964 edition of the American News Weekly Time. Dr. Francois Duvalier will fulfill his sacrosanct mission. He has crushed and will always crush the attempts of the opposition. Think well, renegades. Here is the fate awaiting you and your kind. All artists, writers among them have several stories. One might call them creation myths that haunt and obsess them. This is one of mine. I don't even remember when I first heard about it. I feel as though I have always known it, having filled in the curiosity-driven details through photographs, newspapers and magazine articles, books and films as I have gotten older. Like many, a creation myth, aside from its heart-rending clash of life and death, homeland and exile, the execution of Marcel Numa and Louis Struan involves a disobeyed directive from a higher authority and a brutal punishment as a result. If we think back to the biggest creation myth of all, the world's very first people, Adam and Eve, disobeyed the superior being that fashioned them out of chaos, defying God's order not to eat and what must have been the world's most desirable apple. Adam and Eve were then banished from Eden, resulting in everything from our having to punch a clock to spending many long, painful hours giving birth. In his play, Caligula, Albert Camus, from whom I borrow part of the title of this essay, has Caligula, the third Roman emperor, declare that it doesn't matter whether one is exiled or executed, but it is much more important that Caligula has the power to choose. Even before they were executed, Marcel Numa and Louis Struan had already been exiled. As young men, they had fled Haiti and their parents when Papa Doc Duvalier had come to power in 1957 and had immediately targeted for arrest all his detractors and resistors in the city of poets and elsewhere. Marcel Numa and Louis Struan had made new lives for themselves, becoming productive young immigrants in the United States. In addition to his army and finance experience, Louis Struan was said to have been a good writer and the communications director of June Haiti. In the United States, he contributed to a Haitian political journal called L'Ambi. Marcel Numa was from a family of writers. One of his male relatives, Nono Numa, had adapted the 17th century French playwright Pierre Corneille's Le Cid, placing it in a Haitian setting. Many of the young men Numa and Druin joined with to form June Haiti had had fathers killed by Papa Doc Duvalier and had returned. Le Cid and Hamlet like to revenge them. Like most creation myths, this one too exists beyond the scope of my own life, yet it still feels present, even urgent. Marcel Numa and Louis Struan were patriots who died so that other Haitians could live. They were also immigrants, like me, yet they had abandoned comfortable lives in the United States and sacrificed themselves for the homeland. One of the first things the despot Duvalier tried to take away from them was the mythic element of their stories. In the propaganda preceding their execution, he labeled them not Haitian, but foreign rebels, good-for-nothing blondes. Skip ahead. Breathe, family. I know it's a lot for a Sunday, but you know, if you know me, you know. Perhaps there are no writers in my family because they were too busy trying to find bread. Perhaps there were no writers in my family because they were not allowed to or could barely afford to attend a decrepit village school as children. Perhaps there are no artists in my family because they were silenced by the brutal directives of one dictatorship or one natural disaster after another. Perhaps, just as Alice Walker writes of her own forebears in her essay, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, my blood ancestors, unlike my literary ancestors, were so weather-beaten, terror-stricken, and maimed that they were stifled. As a result, those who somehow managed to create became, in my view, martyrs and saints. Instead of being perceived as whole persons, wrote Walker, their bodies became shrines. What was thought to be their minds became temples suitable for worship. These crazy saints stared out at the world wildly like lunatics or quietly like suicides, and the God that was in their gaze was as mute as a great stone. Their death is possibly among the shocking incidents that have their death is possibly among the shocking incidents that eventually motivated so many others, like my parents, for example, to leave. This may be one of the reasons I live in the United States of America today, writing in this language that is not mine. That could possibly be why I am an immigrant and hopefully an artist, an immigrant artist at work. When years later I became a writer and was asked, are you a Haitian writer, a Caribbean writer, or a Francophone writer? I would always answer that I took the nationality of my reader, which means that when a Japanese reader reads my books, I immediately become a Japanese writer. I love that. The immigrant artist, to borrow from Toni Morrison's Nobel lecture, knows what it is to live at the edge of towns that cannot bear our company, hamlets that need our labor but want our children banned from their schools, villages that want our sick shut out from their hospitals, big cities that want our elderly after a lifetime of impossible labor to pack up and go off somewhere else to die. I have to die for the rest of you to stay here, says the colonel's wife, then I will die. Like her, the immigrant artist must quantify the price of the American dream in flesh and bone, all this while living with the more regular fears of any other artist. Do I know enough about where I've come from? Will I ever know enough about where I am? Even if somebody has died for me to stay here, will I ever truly belong? The immigrant artist shares with all other artists the desire to interpret and possibly remake his or her own world. So though we may not be creating as dangerously as our forebears, though we are not risking torture, beatings, execution, though exile does not threaten us into perpetual silence, still, while we are at work, bodies are littering the streets somewhere. People are buried under rubble somewhere. Mass graves are being dug somewhere. Survivors are living in makeshift tents, tent cities and refugee camps somewhere, shielding their heads from the rain, closing their eyes, covering their ears to shut out the sound of military aid helicopters. And still, many are reading and writing quietly, quietly. Self-doubt is probably one of the stages of acclimation in a new culture. It's a staple for most artists, as immigrant artists for whom so much has been sacrificed, so many dreams have been deferred. We already doubt so much. It might have been simpler, safer to have become the more helpful doctors, lawyers, engineers our parents wanted us to be. When our worlds are literally crumbling, we tell ourselves how right they may have been, our elders, about our passive careers as distant witnesses. Who do we think we are? And scene. Let's stop there. How we doing? How we feeling? Did you hear me? Because it's like crickets. I feel like nothing, silence.
Read the chat, Alicia, before typing.
Okay.
A lot to take in, yeah.
Are we locked in? Are you ready to write? There's a lot. You have the essay. There are several things you can do. We're going to be writing right now, but what I want to say is that it's kind of writer's choice. I want you to, I invite you to like, you can either take a line that you were like, yo, that line was fucking dope. I need to use that. That can be your first prompt. Whatever line you heard, whatever you wrote down, or the prompt that I have for you, which is write about a moment in your life when telling the truth or staying silent felt like a choice with great consequences. What does that mean? What am I asking you to do? I'm asking you to write the thing. What is the thing you've been silent about? What is the thing you need to say? What is the thing that you need to write? What is the thing that holds great consequences? If you don't tell it, this thing could possibly repeat, right? Like you're thinking about all the things. You're always thinking about like why it is that you're writing. You're always thinking about who the audience is. You're always thinking about, like, at least I am, like, what is this for? Why am I living through this experience? Why did I inherit this gift? I'm always thinking about that, you know? And so, you ready? Write about a moment in your life when telling the truth or staying silent felt like a choice with consequences. Begin. 30 seconds, family. Go ahead and wrap that up. That is time, family. That is time. Talk to me. I'm going to spend 10 minutes just reflecting. I'm not going to have anyone share because that takes up too much time, but I would love for you to share your reflections, your thoughts, your feelings, what came up for you, how the writing was, anything that's on your heart. And keep it brief so we can hear from as many people as possible. Please start off by like introducing yourself, and letting me know who you are, maybe even what you write, and let's go.
I'll start. Hi, everybody. My name is Kay. If you're Spanish and now we're familia, you can call me Kirsi, which is my real name. Kay de Simone is my name for work. So I am Kirsi to all of you. I'm very excited to be here. I am a therapist by trade. So interestingly enough, when you had that prompt, what came flooding to me is a lot of the secrets that I hold for people and the things that are of a multi-generational nature, where many things have happened, kind of the same sequel has happened in many generations across the line. So it went to a very interesting place. I'm usually very outspoken. My family is very outspoken. We don't do secrets too much. We put people on blast since I was little. So I was trying to find something about me or my family, but this is what came. And I haven't written in 30 plus years. I was telling Miss Angie. I forgot that I was a writer and that I was a poet because I was busy getting credits in the university, but meeting her a few weeks ago at an event kind of rekindled that. So I'm very excited to meet you all and to show up on the Sundays and get this thing going.
Welcome and thank you. Welcome back. Someone else?
I'm also going to share. Hi, my name is Kimberly. I'm from Mexico, but I live in New York City. And I live in New York City. And this prompt makes me think and how many times I have chosen silence because the other person won't understand, and it's okay. Um, and now that I'm going through like a very specific process, I have seen myself choosing silence. Uh, and that is make me, like it was just a beautiful prompt for me to start putting that silence into words on paper.
Beautiful, beautiful, and brave. Thank you for sharing. Someone else?
Hi, I can share, Alicia. Hi, everyone. I'm Vanessa Garcia Polanco. Most of my writing is political. I'm based in Washington, D.C., and I do policy work here. In less personal writing these days because not a lot of time for that, but I do want to reclaim it. And I think for me, this prompt was really important because so much of my job, it is like, if I don't say something at the right time, it can have a lot of consequences financially for a lot of people, or can impact a lot of people because I am not doing my due diligence or informing policy or challenging a narrative that they may have or educating someone on something that they think is true and is not in a way be true for the people that I represent. So I think for me it was really like also thinking when is strategic to say something and when it's not strategic to say something, especially the times that we live right now, and how that can be seen as not compliance, sorry, I forgot the word. Like you're agreeing to it because you're not speaking against it. I forgot the word right now, but I think it's really important for me to remember that you had to continue telling the stories and giving that feedback, even if it looks really different than many other formats you may be used to. So it was a beautiful prompt. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you mean to say complacent?
Complacent. Thank you. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I feel you. It's like you don't want to lose your job. Like, how much truth can you say? How boldly can you say it without risking your livelihood or fucking deportation these days? Like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Someone else, please share. Thank you, Vanessa.
Hey all, hola, ¿cómo estás? How are you, everyone? My name is Jennifer Disla. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And yeah, thank you for this prompt. A lot came up, but I think what I want to ground it on for this conversation, it really helped me describe the moments and the risk of not being silent, especially about, I wrote about being assimilating to whiteness, and what that means with racialized capitalism. And then it also made me think about the moments where to Vanessa's earlier point about strategically being silent and what those impacts are. So I really appreciate the prompt and really appreciate the thinking.
Thank you. Someone else?
I'll share. Hi, Alicia. Hi, everybody.
Hi, April.
Hi. I'm really not writing too much of anything these days. I come here and I'm so grateful for this space. It's given me the opportunity to just stop because otherwise I just go, go, go. So the thing that came up for me with this prompt, and I've been so interested in words lately, and I've been so interested in silences, and I've recently read an article in the Times about entitled like "The Silence Grows Louder," and about like current censorship and how afraid people are of physical harm and loss of income or their safety and so on. And so this is a really important thing to talk about. What came up for me in my writing was like my origin, I guess my origin, the origin of my voice, just in terms of like a personal ability to use my voice, however small, only a word, only a peep, and saying yes, yes, this happened to me. Yeah, that was all. Just yes, yes, your husband was molesting me. That's it. Yes, just yes. And that was so powerful for me. And so that was something that I visited. So thank you so much for the prompt and thank you for giving me voice.
Listen, I love what you said, the origin of my voice. I had to write that down. That was beautiful. Thank you. Someone else?
I'll take it. Hi, Alicia.
Hola, Rosita, ¿cómo tú estás? ¿Cuánto tiempo?
No, it's been a long time.
Virtual hug.
So El Silencio, this is huge. Because when I was young in Catholic school, like they made us be quiet in class, quiet during meals. The year that I boarded the school, silence in the evening. I mean, there's silence everywhere. So it was something that was forced on me, and it became such a habit. It's taken me years and years to like say it. And I had a therapist who used to say to me, say it. Oh my gosh, it's been a struggle. And so lately I've been reading, the name will come back. She talks about silence. Silence will not protect you. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that is not true all of the time. And that is why the police says, your right to be silent. And there is protection in silence. And sometimes it's best, it's best to let it go, not say anything, and just move on. So, but yeah, sometimes it's a choice. But like when I was so trained to be silent, that was not a choice. That was like forced on me. And the choice was to begin to speak up. And I suffered consequences because I began to tell the truth, and people around me began to move away because I was with the wrong people. And it was a very painful process and long process. And so I started making new friends because I was more truthful. I was saying how I felt about things. So it's huge for me. And there are consequences to speaking up and consequences to staying silent. And yes, silence does protect us sometimes.
Very good. Thank you. Beautiful family. That we're gonna pause there and continue. Because I am the kind of person to switch it up, we're gonna switch it up right now. I'm gonna divert from our agenda today and give you something. I'm gonna close this whiteboard because I don't even know how to use it. Can you give me, let's take a quick like 2-minute break so I can tend to my daughter for a moment. Get up, stretch, grab water. We'll start in 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. Thank you, Pam. I want to share another document with you all. Let me see if it lets me do it. Let me see. This document I won't be sharing because it's actually from my course, but I decided just now, hang on, let me see you all, that it might be just a great segue. So we're not going to read The Other Side of Water. We're not going to read that essay because we don't have enough time. You have the essay. I invite you to read the essay. It's excellent. I do want to give you a biography on Edwidge Danticat, which I did not at the beginning. Edwidge Danticat is a Haitian American writer known for her poignant works exploring themes of immigration, exile, and intergenerational sacrifice. Her selected works are A Wall of Fire Rising. These are some of the things that I have presented for the actual class, The Un-American Dream, the 4-week session from her collection Crit Crack, the Create Dangerously essay, which we looked at. But I want to jump ahead. In the essay, The Other Side of Water, when you go and read it, there is a term that she uses in that essay called lot bo dlo, that the family uses, right? So it translates to the other side of the water. This expression carries dual meanings. It refers both to those who have emigrated abroad and those who have passed away. Danticat reflects on her personal experience with this concept, noting that her parents were already lot bodlo before she fully understood its implications. She explores how this separation influenced her journey into writing, using words as a means to bridge the distances between her and her homeland. Fantastic. So this is the prompt that I'm giving you now, because I rather than lecture, I prefer to have you write some things. Where's my chat box? Why can't I find it? I don't know. I don't know, family. No sé lo que estoy haciendo. Here it is. The toolbar was up top. Here is the prompt. The immigrant story, sacrifice and searching for home. What did our families give up to bring us here? The 5 elements of the American dream are democracy, rights, liberty, opportunity, and equality. Write about a sacrifice made by you or your family and how it shaped your journey. Here's the invite. The
Lost the
invitation.
visual.
That's okay. I'll put it back. I put it in the chat. It's in the chat.
Okay.
I want you to be really gentle with yourself as you do this last writing prompt. You're writing the beginnings of something. This is the beginnings of something. I want you to see it as that. Wait. I'm sorry, fam, give me a second. No, because I don't like it. You're writing the beginnings of something, right? You can use this prompt any way that you want. You can kind of freestyle on those words. Democracy. I'm like Spanish English. Democracy, rights, liberty, opportunity, equality, right? You can use the prompt, what my families gave up to bring us here. Write about a sacrifice made by you or your family and how it has shaped your journey. Yes? Any questions about the prompt? No? Ready? Let's begin. Family, go ahead and wrap that up. 10 seconds. That is time. Bravo, y'all. Well done. So let's have a brief conversation. Yes. Tell me how you're feeling. Let's kind of reflect. Let's reflect on the day. We are not going to share because that takes too much time, and I'd rather just kind of see what you're feeling after that prompt. So what came up for you? What did you end up exploring? Maybe a theme. Share your reflection, keep it brief so we can hear from as many people as possible. And I'm just throwing a question in here in the chat, like, what did you discover about your writing today? So share anything.
Hello, hello. Happy
Hi.
Sunday. My name is John Carlos Barrera. I use he, him, it pronouns based here in Washington, D.C. Um, so what's showing up for me when I just first of all, Alicia, your reading voice when you were reading out of Create Dangerously. Thank you. Your voice added to the story you're telling. I was hooked. And one of the things that stood out in that reading was this line of the price of the American dream. So in the first writing sesh, that was what my writer's choice led me, getting to see this new prompt that you just showed on the screen, very much connected into that, the writing about the sacrifice that your family made or you. And so what kept showing up for me in this space was the labor, the unpaid, underpaid labor of my mother's body, um, the excruciating pain in her knees and her back, um, and trying to understand the sacrifice that came out of me with moving away from my hometown in Miami, Florida, seeking my own version of American dream, my own version of an opportunity. Um, and I feel like any first generation Latina person in America could understand this is the guilt that is connected to having to choose prosperity over your family connection. So realizing that now my times with family is spent on Thanksgiving, Noche Buena, and realizing I have traded, that was my sacrifice. I had traded time. Um, and now recognizing that. And so I can't thank you enough for kicking off with being kind to yourself and processing this writing. I was the individual in the chat that described their writing as cathartic. And that's definitely something that I actively seek in my writing. So just wanted to share that and share that reflection. Can't thank you enough for today.
Yo, you said a whole word. That you killed me. You just like your words just kind of like pierced me in the most delicious, beautiful, painful ways. You know, the price of my mother's labor, her body, and I'm thinking about my mom and recently losing her, and my dad, and I'm like, whoa, that is a whole that is a whole essay. That's a whole something really, really special. Um,
Thank you for saying that. I gotta say it was tough to explore because there's also a part of shame that's connected to that in the family. And so this is the first time I've ever decided to even dive into that topic. And for me, there's also this, oh, let me not explore too much of this because I don't want to put embarrassment into the name, to the family name. Um,
please write it.
just write it. Thank you for
Please write it.
that. Thank you, Mama.
Yep. Someone else.
I would like to share. Hola, Alicia and everyone. I actually took writing from the womb with you before, and it was really life-changing. And then here sitting, I'm like, oh, this is like writing from the womb. I mean, the actual womb this time. And this prompt was what really like awoke that in me, because I realized that I was the sacrifice of immigration in my family. And a lot of the times we don't think about the families that have to leave the kids behind in the country, and the abuse that they experience being without their parent in a country. And wow, to know that I was sacrificed, um, that's something that I definitely have to write in. So let's see what I write from this wound. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's good to see you, Isabel. Thank you for being here. Someone else?
I think this is Janet, and I'm so happy to be here in this space. I think this whole workshop has been like a sharpening tools type of workshop, sharpening the knives and trying to figure out which are the implements that we use in our writing. That's how it felt for me. And this both the essay, the first prompt, this prompt has me just really inspired and really sad for and trying to figure out how to name the sadness, like looking for even more nuanced ways to talk about the loss that my mother faced, leaving all her siblings behind in DR, and like losing not just the losing being able to be a sister, a sibling, losing being able to touch her siblings and to be comforted and to be teasing with each other and to be all these things that now she couldn't do because she was here and she made that sacrifice for her family, and then I was born here. So I'm just still looking for which words, still looking for which sentences, still looking for what pauses, but that the inspiration is to keep looking. And that's what I got from this workshop. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Janet. I just want to piggyback off of something you shared, because all I kept feeling inside of my body was the silence, the silence that has been inherited. And I feel like the silence doesn't have a gender, right? There's a specific silence. How do I want to say it? I feel like, we're looking for words for like why we're not writing the thing. I feel like I believe that we've been conditioned to stay silent, and John touched on this, like this idea of, shame and not shaming the name, y de eso no se habla, and y los secretos no se cuentan, and all of that, all of that. In my mind, the words are like the bullshit we've been programmed to believe, but the truth is it's not bullshit. It's how they were raised, our family and those people who come before us. And so that's something really, that's why I say it has no gender, because that silence is something so piercing. And if we're writing, which we understand is a revolutionary act, we're the ones who are meant to sharpen those tools, like you said, sharpen our knives. And so I pray you find the words to say the things, because for too long we have been silent. We have been silenced. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing that. One more person. You can also add anything in the chat that you're feeling, that's come up for you. I'm happy to read it there.
May I share? I'd like to add to what John was saying about, if John, if you spoke, you may be revealing things that will bring shame to the family. And with me, it was a sister who my parents decided to leave behind, and that was extremely heartbreaking for me. And she was not brought because she was retarded in this country. She would have gotten to an institution. This was 1958, before Geraldo Rivera, and the whole disabilities movement took place here. So, so between putting her in an institution here or an institution in Colombia, it would be best if at least she had the language and the food and the music and all the cultural stuff, and she'd still be separated from us. So, so that was heartbreaking. But I had some secrets with her, namely that when we were like 8 and 10 years old, we got a little bit sexually active. Before we were discovered and punished severely. And so I didn't want to say that as long as she was alive, because I was protecting her. So sometimes the silence not only protects us, we use it to protect our families from shame, from being guilty of things that maybe should not have happened, but did. So silence, yeah, and the consequences, right? There are consequences to speaking, and there's consequences to silence, and you have to make a choice. It's like coming out as lesbian, say it or don't say it, always. And with everyone I meet, I have to make that decision. And with my students lately, I just came right out and said I was lesbian, and those are things many people cannot handle. So we learn to, like, okay, I'm gonna say this only to some people and never say it to anybody. Those are choices we made, and they're not easy.
Thank you. Family, we are 3 minutes away from the end of our session together. And if I want to open this up to any like Q&A, like any questions you might have. I've shared the link to the workshop. There's 3 sessions left, March 23rd, April. And so, yeah, any questions before I let you go? This has been amazing. I'm really grateful to have been invited. I'm grateful to have spent this Sunday morning with you all, just kind of holding space and encouraging you to write the thing, because I believe in that. I do believe that we are called to say it. You know,
Alicia, the workshops are in person, correct?
they're in person and virtual.
Okay.
And virtual, yep. I just have to change the address because it's at Word Up, but Word Up has a second location on Sundays. So it's not the Word Up on Amsterdam. Any questions, family?
You left them with too much.
I know, yo, I know. I feel the silence. I feel the, listen, here's what I want to say. I know that this specific theme can be triggering because it comes with so much historically for many of us, right? From the lands that our people come from, to come to this land and not feel welcomed, you know. And in this day and age, this political climate, really see, like, we've always known it, but now we're seeing, right? We're seeing the racism like in our faces. We're seeing the hate. We're seeing the deportations. We're seeing the very real fear of losing our education, our books being banned. Like, it's a lot what we're experiencing, and there's a lot of fear. But what we have as writers, I believe, is a responsibility to say the fucking thing, to write the fucking story, you know, at courageously, like dangerously, create dangerously, like be willing to risk it all, because I can't, for me, after losing my mom, there is no better time for me to write with that urgency. And I've always been the kind of writer to write from a place of urgency. That's kind of just my style of writing, because it feels like it has to be now. You know, it has to be now, it has to be said, it has to get out of my body. Because that's the other thing about not saying the things and staying silent out of all of the fears that are very real. And I honor you, like be where you are as writers, be where you are. But for me, I understand that not saying the things lives in my body and manifests as things that are not healthy personally, right? And so that's why I have to say it and write it. That doesn't mean you have to publish it, and it doesn't mean that you have to share it, right? It's a choice. But do write it, do get it out, do say the thing. And so with that, I'm just grateful. Thank you for allowing me to hold this space. You are invited to join me in my classes. The workshops meet on Sundays, 3 to 6. It's the first time that I do a class kind of in the middle of the day like that. But yeah, come right with me if you feel ready to dig in and do some, you know, some deep writing. Yes. Sure, you can share something quickly, Patricia. Yes. Yes, my love, I will see you in Costa Rica. Yes, please, God. Please, God. Please make it happen.
Who's going to Costa Rica?
I go to Costa Rica.
Alicia in Costa Rica last year for Tango Flag retreat.
We go to it's a
Alicia
Women of
goes every
Color
year.
every year. It's my retreat, girl. That's my New Year's Eve gift. That's my New Year's gift. So yes, April, you already know, baby.
All right.
Patricia.
All right, guys. So I put the link for our
Patricia wants to share something. Espérate, she wants to share
Who?
something. Patricia.
Okay, go
Yes.
ahead.
Okay.
Yes, we hear you, Patricia.
I don't hear her.
Oh, she's on the chat.
Oh, she's sharing in the chat. No, we can't hear you, Patricia. Put it in the chat if you like. Okay, bueno. Guess she's not gonna share anything. All right, folks. I shared our Substack link in the chat. It's where we share the recap of the writing workshop, where we give you other resources so you can continue doing the work, and where we also share the video recording should you want to revisit the workshop as well. So you can subscribe to the Substack, get tons of info from us for free or not. Feel free to, support us other ways. But see you next week.